The time is now 6 p.m. Our regular City Council meeting for June 7, 2022 is now in session. First on the agenda is Councilmember Hayward will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise.
Bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for allowing us to show up here today safely without any accidents or incidents. Father, I want to just say thank you for life itself. Thank you for the camaraderie that we have. I want to ask that you continue to watch over and give comfort and peace to those families in Uvalde who are dealing with some terrible issues, and maybe give them some understanding, as many of us here are wanting understanding, and we just can't seem to understand that type of evil. Pray for the first responders that had to deal with that situation, especially those in our city that had to transport those young souls back. It's very touching and very hard that realization of someone would do that. So just please help us to get through this, and Uvalde to get through it, and the rest of us to get through it as a nation. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for all of our staff here in the city that do a very good job and work hard to try to make things happen, and to focus on the residents and doing what we can do for the residents. And I pray that we continue to try to up our game in the city and make us the premier city that we expect within budget. Some of those things, dear Lord, we know are just being friendly, put a smile on our face and being customer service and helping people out. That is why we were also elected, was to be able to help those when we can. Heavenly Father, I ask that as we go forth and making decisions in the city, that you give us discernment to do the bidding and do what is right for those that are in this city. And as all the things that are going on around us that kind of puts us in a fog, that you allow us to see through that fog and make the right decisions for the city. Make the right decisions for the residents of Schertz and be able to help the residents of Schertz as we continue to grow as a city. Heavenly Father, now look and keep us safe as we depart from this place today. Keep us all safe and bring us back at our next appointed time. I ask these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Councilmember Hayward. First, we have a presentation, but before the presentation, we have to pass a resolution. That's item number 1, resolution number 22R49. A resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, approving the 2022 recipient of the Hal Baldwin Scholarship and resolving all matters in connection therewith. Ms. Gonzalez, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have before you the approval of the Hal Baldwin Scholarship for the 2022 year. And we will move on to the presentation after that. The Hal Baldwin Scholarship Committee met, reviewed the applications, and unanimously agreed for Ms. Emily Layton to receive $5,000. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions, but we recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Okay, Council, floor is open for discussion. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 22R49?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Davis, second by Councilmember Dalla. Any other comments? If not, let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes.
Okay.
Ms. Gonzalez, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I am going to read a little bit more about the recipient for the scholarship, and as I am reading this, if I can have Ms. Layton and also the members of the Hal Baldwin Scholarship Committee that are here tonight, and also the Mayor, please come down. Thank you. Emily Layton is a senior at Samuel Clemens High School and will be attending the University of Texas at Austin in the fall. She plans to study for her bachelor's degree in biology and upon graduation go on to medical school with hopes of becoming a medical examiner for the county. While attending UT, she hopes to participate in clubs that perform public service projects throughout the city. Emily states that the meaning of public service to her is the devotion of one's time to listening to the voices of local citizens and also being a local leader to set examples for others. So just like the recipients in the past, Ms. Layton application was very impressive. We always discuss and talk about how much these kids do these days. So definitely we know her future is bright, and I believe Ms. Susan is going to say a few words first, and then we'll do the presentation.
Hello, Mayor, Council, Miss Emily, congratulations once again. I'd like to thank everybody for being here this evening. However, I wish the most important person as it pertains to the scholarship could be here this evening. However, he is here on that wall, and he is here in spirit. So my late father, Hal Baldwin, was very, very proud of this scholarship. And to date, as of today, you are the 18th recipient of the Hal Baldwin Scholarship Award. And to date, we have awarded over $50,000 in funding for the scholarship. So congratulations. Once again, just a beautiful resume, beautiful. Everything you did was spot on, let me just tell you. So I would also like to introduce my nephew, Hal Baldwin's grandson, Bill Baldwin, and Michael Fisk. They are, we always enjoy getting together and reviewing these applicants. So you guys just really make us feel bad about what we didn't do. Let me just tell you, or we didn't accomplish. I will say that in their short 17 and 18 years of life, they have accomplished more than most of us have accomplished in our entire lives. So I don't know how you do it, but my hat's off to you, kid. Let me just tell you. So once again, thank you so very much. Thank you, Sarah, for all that you do. And I guess that's it. Congratulations. And make a good use. Okay, perfect. Yes. Thank you so much. Oh, sir, it's always good to see you. Let me tell you, thank you so much. We're done. You're so welcome. There you go.
I just want to say thank you so much to the Hal Baldwin Scholarship for this opportunity. This was amazing. It'll be put to good use. Thank you so much.
We have another presentation, regarding the Love Where You Live events.
I think I need probably a little help to bring the slides up if I can. Oh, there we go. Well, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Brown, council members, my name is Eric Wilbur, and it's just my honor to present this data. I can tell you that I've been all over the world. I have never met a community and leadership of the community that's more committed to its residents. And we'll see some data here from Love Where You Live, but it was just an incredible event that we had back in April. And a few of you were out there, and we'll see a few pictures of you out there as well. So just, I always like to go through a little bit of history. We started in 2016. It was a consortium of churches and the city of Schertz joined to create a nonprofit that would just help the residents of Schertz, those that need help. And we've done 13 neighborhood events so far, and we've served 360 homeowners. And so as we continue this partnership, we look forward to our next event, which I'll talk about in just a second. Our vision is to create collaboration. Collaboration with the city, churches, other nonprofits, schools, those that want to join us in helping the residents of Schertz. And we're trying to transform these neighborhoods, make them better, and create an environment where also their neighbors are invested in making the neighborhood safer and better. We do use, out of Matthew, there's a passage in there, Jesus talks about loving our neighbor as ourselves, and so we use that as our guiding path. And we really focus on neighbors that really need help. And I would say that some of these residents have lived in these homes since the 70s. You can do the math, that's almost 50 years in some cases. So they're elderly. Lots of widows that are live by themselves, and then also as well as some disabled folks that we serve. And we have become a good resource for not only the city, but others that are seeing people in need in the great city of Schertz. So a lot of people ask, why love where we live? Why do we do what we do? Well, a couple reasons. One, the city's not resourced to do what we do. And churches by themselves and other nonprofits can't do it by themselves as well. That's why this collaboration is so important, and why it's critical that we work together to help people that, again, may not be able to help themselves. So citywide neighborhood issues, that's kind of what we do. And as we look here to the next event, we were in two neighborhoods this time. We were in the Villages, which is right behind Arlen's Market, and then the Heritage neighborhood, which is across 78. Those two neighborhoods are older, as you can imagine, and have lots of needs. This is where we started off, and we always start off at 8 o'clock in the morning with prayer, bringing our volunteers in and giving them a safety briefing. And this last time we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 160 volunteers, I think. One of the biggest things we do is tree trimming, and it's just really evident, as you can imagine. A lot of these homes that have been here a long time have very mature trees, so we do a lot of tree trimming. That creates a lot of hauling of tree limbs, and it creates, oh, there's Mr. Mayor. I knew we had a picture of him. There he is, hauling off some things. Well, the good thing is he was out there working for us. And again, Mr. Mayor, thanks for coming out. I think we actually had a couple pictures of you, but the other thing we do is fences. It's interesting, again, these are older homes, so a lot of the fences are falling down, gates aren't working, and so we do a lot of fence work as well. And there's Dr. Brown on his project. He had a painting project. This was really cool. This couple, just a great couple, needed some painting on the interior of their home. I always like to embarrass Dr. Brown because I always try to tell the occupants like who he is. There's not many city managers or mayors that are going to come out and really serve their community. But you two do, as well as Councilman Whitaker as well came out. Mark Davis supported us many times, both out and financially, and so I just, like I tell you, it's special here, and you're a special group. So I just want to thank you for that. And this is, again, another little painting project that we were doing, helping a lady paint her carport. And then we also had out there Access Med and Physicians Premier came out and volunteered to provide a first aid tent. So here's, here's where we ended up on the villages, kind of the cleanup event. We had 35 homeowners that we served, 160 volunteers from a host of folks. You know, I put these in alphabetical order, so they're just there, but several churches, obviously the city church was out with their volunteers. We had, as well as Beck, Landfill, and Ready Mix. So lots of volunteers coming from different organizations in the city of Schertz. And then we had sponsors as well. We never get anything done without our sponsors helping us. We always include the city of Schertz because of all the work that they do behind the scenes making this work. Physicians Premier and Access Med also provide some financial help for us. Republic Service is another one that we just can't say enough good things about them. They support us tremendously with a grapple truck and a trash truck, and they've been at every event. It's been incredible. Beck Landfill also provides some support to us. And then we do get some individuals that also donate to us, and Daryl and Barb Marquez were one. And then Chick-fil-A and Journey Fellowship provided some support to us. Well, that's the end of my brief. I just, again, want to thank the city and how much you do and for us and help us to help your neighbors. And so thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbur. Councilmember Donnelly, you have a couple questions? No? Councilmember Davis? No? Oh, okay. Councilmember Whitaker.
Would it be possible to get a copy of those slides? Could you email them? I'd like to share them with our organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send those to you.
Thank you.
For sure.
Well, Mr. Wilbert, I like, to thank all the volunteers. Like you said, there was over 100 volunteers out there. I'd like to thank our city staff also for being out there and helping us. And we also have volunteers from the state of Indiana. I worked with a couple of them. They were here on vacation and they joined us on that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting. I went to, I think, 4 different locations. One of them was not on your list, but we went across the street and it was a mess there and we picked it up.
Yeah.
But
We have it's very interesting when we get the projects because neighbors start to see us doing work at other neighbors. And so they call us over and...
Yeah, it wasn't that much, and it was just, it beautified the neighborhood. So thank you so much for continuing to, love where you live. And it's a great, great program for our city. Thank you
Our
so
honor
much.
to do it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have a presentation concerning the 4th of July Jubilee. Ms. Schrum.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Dr. Brown. I'm here tonight to give you an update on July 4th Jubilee. It's coming up, less than a month now, and we're busy planning, so I wanted to kind of give you a briefing of where we stand today. In anticipation for 4th of July, as you know, we do Project Flagline. We started a couple of years ago by an Eagle Scout, and we continue that now every year. So we have over 75 volunteers already signed up to help us put up the flags July 1st at 7:30 a.m. So we thank the volunteers and many council members who are helping us with that effort. And then we do take them down Wednesday, July 6th at 7:30 a.m. as well. So there's still a couple volunteer opportunities to take down with us. Here's the flyer and all the different elements of Jubilee. This year, same as years past, we start out with a Freedom 5K, a parade, we have live music, family fun activities, and a fireworks spectacular. This is in the magazine, it's online now. We want to thank our sponsor, HEB. They generously support us every year, so thank you to HEB. Additional marketing, the way we get the word out about this event, we do have the billboard, should be going up today. If it's not already up, I didn't get to see it this morning. We do media advisories June 3rd and then June 30th. Do get quite a few media out there. We promote it on the website, social media, the magazine, email blast to the neighbors. We do send out letters also to all the businesses and residents in the Aviation Heights area that are affected by the parade and some of the parking for the event. And that's what the banner, or what the billboard looks like there. So event day, starting on July 4th at 9:15 a.m. This is the timeline. Again, the Freedom 5K begins here from the Hal Baldwin Municipal Complex, and the racers run the parade route. Registration should be open online soon on the Athlete Guild website. Then at 9:30 p.m., the Hometown America parade kicks off, and the Hometown America is the theme this year. We do have 25 entries so far. We typically get a lot the last couple of weeks before the parade. We typically have about 100, so we're right on track there. Here is the route. It's the same route we had in 2021. Starts on Elbow Road where we stage, comes down Schertz Parkway, turns onto Main Street, follows to 1518, and then all the floats return to the staging area down Arrow Avenue. Here is the detour map that is created to kind of show the road closures. We used this one last year. We're going to create a little bit more detailed one this year, trying to show what areas are closed at what time. I think sometimes it's difficult for people to get around and to get to the lots that they need to get to park, so we're going to work on that. We have a meeting with the traffic control company this week, and we will finalize that soon. Then at 11 a.m. on July 4th, right after the parade ends, the carnival opens. That's at Thulmeyer Park, located at 901 Oak Street. If anybody doesn't know where Thulmeyer is, just right across from Pickerel at the baseball fields. Here is the map. Same map we've used for the last couple of years, kind of shows where the activities are at in the main area of Pickerel Park. The stage is located just off the parking area. Large pavilion, it holds the family fun zone. Floating fireworks is at the pool. Again, carnival is over in Thulmeyer area. And then we have the food trucks and kind of all the little arts and crafts type activities over there in the main park area. And then the fireworks zone is off in the Cibolo Creek area, as in years past. Then at 6 o'clock, we kick things off with live music with Groove Night. We had that party band. It's an 8-piece party band with 3-piece horns. We had them in 2019. They're coming back. We have food trucks. We already have 13 options, a lot of good variety. We've got games, giveaways, pickleball, cornhole, all that happening in the family zone. We also have floating fireworks at the pool, like I mentioned. Those tickets are on sale now, online, in advance only, $3 per person. We're already at 209 out of our 300 slots. So if you want your tickets to the pool, please go ahead and go online at schertz.com and get those. And then all these activities take place at Pickerel Park, 701 Oak Street. 7 p.m., we'll have the mayor and council welcome. We used to do this around 5:30. We pushed it back to when there's more of a crowd. So we will do this at the first band break. So we will give you more details on where to come and where your parking pass and all that. Then at 9:13 p.m., we will have the Star Spangled Banner, and then at 9:15, the fireworks kick off. Again, I will give you your council packets on June 28th with the parking passes, all the details on where to go for the parade, and the usual information that we provide. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Schramm. Council, questions? No questions. We're ready to rock and roll for the 4th of July.
And one last sneak peek.
Yes.
Had to throw that in there. Great Northern Trail grand opening is coming up on June 21st at 6 p.m. You'll be seeing this in your mailbox soon.
Well, just one question.
Yes.
Council on golf carts, or how is council for the parade?
Golf carts.
Got it. Councilman Whitaker wants to know if her battery's going to be charged.
Our battery will be charged. Actually, we're going to get gas this year.
Okay.
Gas powered carts.
Thank you, Ms. Schramm.
Mini horses, is that what you're saying?
Okay, we'll move on to employee recognitions. First, we have planning and zoning development.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. On behalf of Planning and Community Development, we're very excited to introduce you to William Willingham. He is our planning intern for the summer. He'll be with us until July 29th. He was born in Eagle Pass stayed there till he was 9, then moved to San Antonio where he continued to graduate through high school. He received his bachelor's in urban planning from Texas A&M in 2021 and is currently pursuing his master's in public administration also from Texas A&M. And then a fun fact about William, his initials spell WOW. So says a little bit about William, but we're very excited to have him on board. Right now he's helping both the planning division and building permits and inspections, and we're just thrilled to have him.
Nice to meet you.
Mike's all yours.
Howdy. Aggie's in here, all right. Anyway, howdy, nice to be here. I've met a couple of y'all before, but I don't think I've met everyone up here. But like she said, my name's William. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to help out where I can. Really enthusiastic about public service, and so I'm just glad to be able to be on board here with Schertz. So I appreciate y'all.
Well, welcome to our team, William. Next, we have the police department.
Hi, good evening. I'm here to introduce a couple of our new dispatchers. This is going to be Emily Daniel. She started with the police department as communications officer on May 9th of this year. She was born in Del Rio, Texas, and raised in Camado, Texas. Emily graduated from Eagle Pass High School and moved to Austin, Texas in 2018. She just recently got married this past December, and in January they moved to San Antonio. They do not have any children, but she has 2 chihuahuas. Emily enjoys reading, hiking, animals, and coffee.
Hi. I wanted to thank y'all for the opportunity to serve the community. I'm looking forward to growing with the city and look forward to what everything comes with it, you know? Thank you.
Welcome to our team.
And this is going to be Renee Cifuentes. She started with the police department as communications officer of April 11th of this year. Renee was also born in Del Rio and graduated from Del Rio High School. They actually know people, but they've never met before. She graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology at UTSA, and she's a first-generation college graduate. Renee comes to us from Total Wine, where she was a supervisor. She also is recently married as of last year to her spouse, Alyssa, who likes to call her Princess to differentiate from the 3 other Renees in the family. Renee wants to continue to learn everything about dispatching to become competent in position, and long-term, she'd like to grow her status with the police department.
Hello. I'd like to thank you guys for this opportunity, and I'm excited to see where my future holds in the city of Schertz.
Well, welcome to our team.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I would like to introduce our newest patrol officer, Derek Balderas. He comes to us after serving in our military for the last 12 and a half years, and he previously worked at Guadalupe County Sheriff's Office before joining our team. And he graduated from Samuel Clemens. I knew he was coming. And he also has a bachelor's degree in criminology with a minor in psychology. And he is married, has 2 children, and loves working out and being on the ball fields with his son.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to serving the city.
Well, welcome to our team.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next we have events and announcements. Announcements of upcoming events. Ms. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mayor. So kicked off yesterday, it goes through Friday, June 10th, will be the Junior High Fire Academy and High School Fire Academy. Over at Station 1, there is going to be a graduation ceremony at noon on Friday for the cadets and family members, with certificates being handed out and pizza and cake being served. City Council is invited to come out on any of the days, and it's from 8 a.m. to noon. On Thursday, June 9th, will be the Northeast Partnership Monthly Meeting from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Olympia Hills Golf Course and Conference Center, and RSVP to the City Secretary's office if you plan to attend. Saturday, June 11th in the morning is going to be the Nature Discovery Series, Discover the Forest at Crescent Bend Nature Park from 10 to 11. And then in the evening will be the first Music and Movies in the Park from 7 to 10:30 at Heritage Oaks Parks, which is at 11700 Longleaf Parkway. And the movie that will be featured will be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And then next Tuesday, June 14th, is our next regularly scheduled council meeting at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Next is announcements and recognitions by our city manager, Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a few announcements tonight. The first is that our very own Brian James, Assistant City Manager, standing back there in the corner, is going to be a speaker at the Texas City Managers Association conference this week. So he's going to be talking on a panel about development in rapidly developing cities and some of the challenges associated with that. So we look forward to Brian representing us there, as well as the fact that Brian, Charles, and I, all three are attending that conference. We'll be leaving Thursday afternoon and gone on Friday. Then the conference goes through the weekend. Sarah Gonzalez is also going to her Tamio conference. So this is one of the weeks where all four of us are going to be gone for a couple of days, and Adrian Perez is going to step in for me for that day and a half time frame when we're gone. Also would like to thank our facilities crew, our public works team for the Civic Center air conditioning project. That was finished on time and on budget. They did a great job with that. It was a long process, tore all of the duct work out of the Civic Center, put in a brand new air conditioning system. So that's now operating very well. And they had their first event actually last Saturday night with 400 people for a wedding reception. So they kicked it off in style. And also like to thank Sarah and the public affairs team for they were very flexible during this time frame, this 2.5 months, so they did a great job working around all of the work that went on, so thanks to them. And finally, I'd like to thank our crews that did support the city of Uvalde. We had several police officers that deployed to Uvalde in support. We also had dispatchers, and we sent the AMBUS and an EMS crew there as well. And I just appreciate, they were all volunteers, and they did a great job representing our city, and so we definitely appreciate their support. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Announcements and recognitions by the mayor. I'd like to also add to our staff. When there was a city that was in crisis and need, our staff responded. I can't say enough the ordeal Uvalde had to go to, and knowing that we were there supporting them, it's very touching. It's, it pains us to know that the city's going through what they are, and thank you to our staff for being there for them. That's all I have. Next, we have a hearing the residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the City Council. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. Mayor Pro Tem, please call first speaker.
Thank you, sir. We have 5 individuals signed up tonight. First individual, Mr. Daniel Jameson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm getting tongue-tied. My biggest project is, it's from Dan Jameson, 1048 Richmond Drive here in Schertz, a longtime resident. My home of record is right here. The Public Works came out yesterday on my street, did a beautiful job in the repair, but then there's also some issues that I've already addressed to the city manager's office, and sent pictures to follow that up. But the other project that I've noticed is the one going down Schertz Parkway and Main Street, how getting ready to take the high line wires out of the air and put them underground. I think that's one of the best things. It's going to save a lot of electricity and protect our residents here in Schertz, having the wires underground and less way of getting shocked and causing a major tragedy or even, causing somebody to die. And I really appreciate the city stepping up and really looking at doing something like that to protect the residents of the city of Schertz. Thank you.
Second resident, Mr. Tony Perales.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I have one question, and that is all. What are we going to do for security in our schools because of what happened in Uvalde? I know as a former law enforcement officer and as a combat veteran Marine, I am prepared to go volunteer my time to stand outside of schools. I don't have an issue with that if called upon. That's all, sir.
Thank you, sir. Could you please provide the address, your address, sir? We didn't catch it. Did you catch the address? Oh, he wrote it down? Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
So, Dr. Brown, who should Mr. Perales speak with specifically to learn about the efforts we go through to protect our schools?
I think Charles Kelm would be the best person for him to speak to.
Mr. Kelm? Is
That's right.
Charles here? Charles isn't here right now. Do we have a second?
Well, I mean, he's the right person to talk to. If you call the city manager's office, we'll be happy to put you in contact with him, and he can take you through that.
And I noticed the police chief was here earlier also, so those would be two good points of contact. Thank you, sir. Number 3 would be Ms. Mickey T. She wrote that down. I didn't make it up. She did. I know. It's Terliski.
Michelle Terletsky, 705 Maryland Drive, Schertz. And first of all, I'd like to thank Jeremy, Q-U-A-S-T, out of Public Works. He came over when we had a water leak and my neighbor was not home. So we called Public Works. He came out, he turned it off, he painted a little thing so he knew where it was and put a sign on their door so they knew what was going on. Now, I wish I had the name of the young lady that came and helped my other neighbor out, and we're talking about all senior citizens here. She had a dying raccoon in her backyard, and there was a lady from Animal Control that came out there and helped her, and I just want to say thanks to them. Now, my other issue is I'm kind of like one of the cowboys. I'm confused. I don't know if I lost a horse or found a rope. In the Schertz magazine, we have looking back, and then it has a month on it. It's historical. And I like to read it. I enjoy reading those things. But I got to looking at the last 3 months, and back in April, on the local history, it was talking about October. Now, I thought when it says looking back April, there would be something that had something about April. And then on Texas history, it's talking about the bluebonnets and women's equality. So I go to May. May says looking back May, local history. And it's talking about between 1832 and 1847. Go down to Texas history and it's talking about October. Then I hit June. Looking back June, local history, November, Texas history, it's talking about flags, the Texas flag and the American flag. So what I pondered about this, really did, and I thought, well, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe the date just means that's what's in the magazine. I thought, no, maybe all these pioneers years ago, when they were sitting around the campfire, discussing what they were going to do in April, they said, you know, by golly, we're going to take the month of April off. And then they went and they took the month of May and June off. And there is no history. So I'm still kind of confused, but I'm confused on a higher level than what I was when I started. So maybe y'all need to take a look at that and see if that's what y'all want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really don't know how to follow that. I'm confused at a higher level also now. Anyway, next person on the list is Ms. Maggie Titterington.
Actually, I have to follow that. Maggie Titterington, 1730 Schertz Parkway. Very glad to be back. I have a little bit of news to catch you all up on. On June 17th, we're having a ribbon cutting for new business right on Main Street from 4 to 5 p.m. M&M photo booth. Very excited about that. Also on the 21st, it is our 17th anniversary of being your Chamber of Commerce, and we have the Better Business Bureau, who is actually going to be doing a really great presentation on word of mouth is now virtual. So we're really excited. Jason Mesa, who is their marketing director, always does a great presentation. So he's given us just enough of a teaser, but not enough to really fill it in. So y'all have to come and listen to what he has to say and have some anniversary cake. And also starting in the month of June through August, instead of coffee at the Chamber on the last Friday, we're having the summer smoothie celebration. We're partnering up again with Tropical Smoothie Cafe. They give out free smoothies and breakfast items, and it's same time, 7:30 to 9, but it will be at their location, not at the Chamber houses. So that is June through August, last Friday of the month. And I just wanted to give a shout out. You all know very full and well that with the businesses coming in our communities, the city of Schertz works so hard to make things run smooth, but of course there's always things that can happen, miscommunications, and really have to give a shout out and a thanks to Dr. Brown, to Adrian Perez, to Brian James. We have been working with two major businesses that are coming into Schertz, and it's been some maneuvering, it's been some meetings, it's been a meeting of the minds, and it's probably been about 2, 3, 4 months into the making of this, and their patience and their perseverance to get us our means to an end is the lights at the end of the tunnel, and we're just about there. And just my gratitude for Dr. Brown for starting it, and a group of 20 people at a table all talking and having such great communication. But we're going to be so excited when later on we can announce the groundbreakings and who these businesses are. But just thank you so much for y'all working with the Chamber and with these businesses. And that is all.
And our final individual is Mr. Eamon Brown.
Good evening. My name is Jamon Brown. My address is 9778 Morehouse Drive. I requested from my mom, who's sitting right there, to bring me here today to make a request from the City of Schertz and Parks and Recreation Department. I would like to request for them to install new soccer nets because I enjoy playing soccer, and it's also easier because when you kick a ball through a goal with no net, you have to run far to get it, and you wouldn't have to run that much, even though you have to run when you're playing soccer. I'm requesting for the nets for the Rhine Valley 9958 Park on Morehouse Drive, and now I thank you for listening.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. What park was that? Where do you actually play at?
The Rhine Valley Park.
Rhine Valley?
Mm-hmm.
How many nets are needed down there?
4.
4 nets. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll see what we can do for you.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Sarah, could you talk to him? Just get an address and phone number. Thanks.
That's everyone, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move on to consent agenda items. These are self-explanatory, and information packets are provided to council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. Item number 2, the approval of the minutes of our regular meeting on May 24, 2022. Item number 3, ordinance number 22D22, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances be amended by revising Chapter 86, Article 4, Section 86-118, maximum limits in school zones, and to add a segment of the Fairlawn Avenue and providing an effective date. This is our final reading. Item number 4, ordinance number 22D23. An ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, providing that the Court of Ordinances be amended by revising Chapter 86, Article 5, Section 86-149, parking prohibited, and add segments of Fairlawn Avenue and providing an effective date. This is also a final reading. Item number 5, resolution number 22R56. A resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing expenditures in excess of $50,000 with BB inspections for building inspection services during the remainder of the 2021, I think that's 2021-2022, is that correct? Okay, fiscal year and other matters in connection therewith. Mayor Pro Tem, could you read the
Item
others?
number 6, ordinance number 22M20, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, setting expiration dates for the end terms of volunteer members of city boards, commissions, and committees, and requiring new applicants wishing to serve or fill a vacancy be interviewed by the interview committee, repealing all ordinances or resolution or parts of ordinances or resolutions in conflict with this ordinance, and providing an effective date. Final reading. Item number 7, resolution number 22R57, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing staff and consultants to issue general obligation bonds, Series 2022, for Fire Station number 4 construction and improvements to FM 1518, as previously approved by the voters, and other matters in connection therewith. Item number 8, accept the resignation of Mr. Jimmy Oden from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Item number 9, accept the resignation of Mr. Floyd Akers, City of Schertz prosecutor. And item number 10, resolution number 22R55, resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing adoption of the City of Schertz investment policy, investment brokers, and other matters in connection therewith.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Council, do any of these need to be removed for separate action? Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 2 through 10?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hayward, second by Councilmember Davis. Any other comments? If none, let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 11. Resolution number 22R54, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing and approving publication of notice of intent to issue certificate of obligation, complying with the requirements contained in the Securities and Exchange Commission Rule number 15C2-12, and providing an effective date. Mr. Walters, you have the floor.
All right, good evening. We have a timeline handout that Andrew Friedman from SAMCO is passing out to council. This will show when we're issuing the notices and when we plan to issue the bonds. This is a notice of intention. So the amount listed on the notice will be published in the paper and on our website 2 separate times in the paper, giving citizens notice that these bonds are planning to be sold, and as well the maximum amount that the bonds can be sold for. If council wishes to change the amount and issue less, they could do so at any time up to the sale. They could not issue more without issuing another notice of intention. State statutes say that during this time period after the notice and before the sale, citizens can put together a petition. If at least 5% of registered voters sign the petition, instead of issuing these bonds, they would go to the ballot in November. And citizens could vote on them as a whole and see if they pass or not. What we have is what was mentioned previously last week is the only addition to what council has seen before as far as what our bonding issuance plans were. You'll see there are some funds for Main Street. This is the first amount. Then we will come back next year to issue the remainder for the total amount we had for Main Street. Other projects include the remainder of the 15-18 funds. While the first portion was funded by a GO bond, voter approved bond, council also passed a resolution committing another $5 million in certificates of obligation bonds to meet our match required by TxDOT to move forward. You also notice some water and sewer projects. Northcliffe is replacing the AC pipes. as well as new transmission main. Part of that was funded from the reserves in water and sewer. The remainder will be bonded. And the final one is some additional funding for the FM 1518 utility relocation. So that first part of that project's done. They're getting ready for construction, and they'll need some additional funds to move forward with that project. All of the funds provided by the general fund or the INS tax rate, all of that will fall within the parameters of our current tax rates. We don't believe this will cause a tax rate increase. From our previous discussions, we were planning a tax rate swap, moving some of our INS over to M&O. With the addition of the Main Street bonds, that will no longer be an option. So it looks like we'll be maintaining the current ratio of INS and M&O. These projects were also listed in the previous rate study for the water and sewer. They should be factored into the current rate plan. I know another update to that plan should be underway here soon, but we have the current rate plan should encumber all of the projects listed as well. So we wouldn't have to deviate from our current rate plan in the water and sewer. If you have any questions over the projects or what this means tonight, Andrew Friedman is here from SAMCO, or I could help answer council's questions.
Thank you, Mr. James. So just to be clear, the certificate of obligation is for $19,855,000. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Council, questions? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola.
I was just wondering how much of this is actually voter approved?
So everything on this resolution is not voter approved.
Not voter approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't want to be a fly in the ointment. I really don't. But what is driving this $19 million worth of COs? If it hasn't been brought to the voters yet, what is our intention for actually making it public? $19 million is almost like half the city's budget.
Half the general fund budget, yes. The FM 1518 road improvements, that was done by council. We have $5 million that were voter approved. TxDOT came back and said our match needed to be $10 million. So instead of going back to the voters, since they already approved the project, council passed a resolution committing another $5 million in CO bonds. And you'll see that here, $5,600,000, because we also needed to provide funds for right-of-way acquisition. The Main Street improvements, those were discussed at last council meeting. Those were not on our previous issuance plan, so that $3 million is new. The remaining $11 million is in the water and sewer fund. That was on our plan to issue for the water and sewer fund with the rate study we did last year. Those would not go to the voters as they're part of the water and sewer. They're not going to be supported by taxes. They're supported by their own revenue sources. And I believe all of those, the Northcliffe AC pipe has not been approved by council yet. It's been on our plan, and I say approved by council. The Live Oak Water Transmission Main has already funds attributed to it, authorized by council, and the FM 1518 utility relocation, we are committed to moving forward with that project with the relocation, with the road improvements on 1518. While the project is more than what we expected, this will help the city of Schertz move forward with that as well.
Yeah, here's a basic problem that I have. It is estimated that there will be no impact on the INS tax rate. Okay, I can deal with that, but to claim that there's going to be no change in the tax rate is really hard to swallow. You know, we made a concerted effort a couple of years ago to actually start balancing out our funding. Operations and maintenance versus INS. And it was a really, really good idea to actually start reducing our INS because we're paying interest on that. You know, how about if we could save some of that interest and actually put it into the general fund and help pay things off using that kind of money instead of financing some bank somewhere. and it made a lot of sense to me. This plan is going to put that on the back burner. Well, you know what? Any kind of fiscal responsibility takes a little bit of discipline. Actually, it takes a lot of discipline. It's sort of like exercising. You know, you can convince yourself on any given day of the week that's probably not a good idea to go out there and exercise. And then once you made that decision once, the second time you decide to do it becomes even easier. You need a lot of discipline to maintain your fiscal responsibility. And this isn't doing it. Oh, well, it's for a very good cause this time. Yeah, well, okay. So how about a couple of years from now? Are we going to have a very good cause then to do exactly the same thing and just keep kicking that can down the road? I don't like this idea. I don't like spending that kind of money without voter approval and without really having considerable input from the residents themselves. Are we going to have the opportunity for the residents to be heard on these items? I'd like to hear from the residents. I represent them. That's probably not a question for you. Dr. Brown, it is a question for you, though. You know, are we planning to have public hearings addressing these items here?
Is a public hearing required when we actually go to vote for the C of Os?
It's not required. This will be published in the paper, and the citizens, if they oppose it, can form a petition which would push these to a ballot. Other than that, when the voters approved the expansion of 1518, which is the bulk of the items here that I was related to, I would argue that there is a voice there from the citizens saying move forward with 1518. We can hold public hearings. We can talk about it in additional council meetings. I think we've heard a lot of citizens come forward saying that there's issues on 1518 that these funds will address. So I think we've heard them in previous council meetings as well, but we can always do more.
So we will have a presentation, though, that'll, you know, that will be a public meeting, and they will have the opportunity to comment on that.
We could have that.
I'm not saying that we...
It's not required, but we could have that.
But I mean, we do have to bring this back to council for their approval.
And council will have, when we sell the bonds, council will be asked at that time and can choose not to issue all those bonds.
So that's after we sell the bonds?
At the sale of the bonds.
Okay.
May I, sir?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Andrew Friedman with Samco Capital Markets, serve as the city's financial advisor. James is correct. This is not subject to a public hearing. It's subject to a petition. So we're going to, with your approval this evening, you would post that notice of intention that you have before you within that resolution in the paper for 2 consecutive weeks and on your website consecutively from now until the scheduled sale, which is August 2nd. So while you could seek input in subsequent council meetings or workshops, that's not part of the CO Act that authorizes the issuance of these obligations. The next time that this will come before you as the next legal step to issuing these COs will be when bids are received on August 2nd. And so your determination at that point to vote yes or no on the issuance of those certificates of obligation, it will be your only opportunity to do that. I would caution you all that for the cities, and I'll call this kind of a headline risk or your reputation in the bond market, what we want to avoid is getting all the way to a bond sale, receive interest rates from, and have the underwriter or purchaser go and solicit for bids and talking to their customers, only to have the council turn it down after they've made those good faith efforts to purchase them. And so you certainly do that. There's nothing wrong or illegal or anything like that with it, but the next time you go to borrow money in the market, some of those bond investors might remember what had happened the previous time. So I would just caution you that we want to go into this process really from the outset with a clear understanding and intent with how you all want to proceed. Now, if you receive a petition or something else to that effect, that would certainly that certainly changes things. That's outside of you all's control, obviously, and ours. I would go back to say that of this 19 some odd $19 million in COs, just over $11 million of it is for water and sewer improvements, as Mr. Walters already indicated. As has been the city's practice and is generally the practice throughout the state, certificates of obligation are issued most often for utility system improvements rather than revenue bonds. Revenue bonds carry a higher interest rate. They're not subject to petition. They don't go to the voters either, but they carry a higher interest rate. They have other bond covenants that make revenue bonds themselves more expensive to cities. And so very often you issue COs for that purpose of getting the most efficient financing accomplished. In this case, there were other projects that the city wants to bring into that certificate of obligation, namely that FM 1518. Certainly, if between now and August 2nd, there's a change of desire from the council and staff's perspective that we don't want to fund 15 to 18 through that, we can reduce the borrowing. Again, before we get to the bids, we want to understand this before we get to August 2nd, but if we said, okay, well, we really only want to borrow the $11 million for utility system improvements, you can do that. And we can go out and just size down the financing from that point. Again, food for you all, food for thought for you all to consider going into this process.
But the effect of this resolution, just to be clear, is that if they pass this resolution, they are authorizing us to go to bid.
That's
to bid out these
authorizing us to proceed with issuance
okay.
and get to that August 2nd date where you'll have interest rates in hand.
And notifying the public.
And notifying the public of the same.
Issue bonds in August. So it's not commit council anything, but it notifies the public that that's our intent.
And that's my primary concern here, transparency, letting the people know what's going on. So that's one item. And I'm a little conflicted because my biggest problem is with the Main Street expenditures. Putting that in with this group of other things. I understand the 1518 projects are needed and the sewer lines and all that stuff is important. I can understand that, and I also know that you got to show some solidarity when you're going forward with a process like this. I know that we're going into a recession. Well, I don't know that specifically. I don't have my crystal ball, but I know that the feds are probably going to raise the rates here shortly. So we'd better strike while the iron is hot to get everything approved. What I'd like, though, is just to make sure that we have the transparency, that our residents understand. Rates are not, our tax rates probably not going to be going down in the foreseeable future because we keep spending. Granted, they may be needed expenditures. I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying let the residents know so they'll know what to expect going forward. I'll stop talking now.
Yeah, no, I certainly appreciate that, Councilman Scagliola, and I think, I've been here 10 years, so James has been here a bit longer, Sarah a bit longer than that, being at this point we're the staff that's kind of been around a while. And I'll tell you from my perspective, what I've heard in the 10 years I've been here is residents expect us to deal with basic city services. Police protection, fire protection, streets, water lines, sewer line, basic maintenance of parks. That's the thing that we routinely hear from our residents. And the thing I think we hear from our residents is a couple of points. Hey, we have newer areas and we need to keep it up, crack seal, pothole repair, do things like that as we go. But then the other part is we are a community that's been around a fairly long time now. We have aging parts of our community. And the reality, and I'll tell you, having worked in multiple communities, if we don't also focus on those older areas, like Northcliffe, like aviation, if we don't maintain those areas, they will decline. And I would say this, Councilman, from the Main Street project to the Northcliffe, it's a lot of basic infrastructure. It's replacing the water and sewer line in Main Street. If you drive down Main Street now, the street surface, not in great shape. You don't sit here and go, wow, this is really nice and smooth. We don't have sidewalks that are ADA accessible like we do in the newer parts of town. And so, Councilman, I agree. We need to be transparent. We need to let our citizens know what we're doing. But again, I think traditionally what we've done is, what we hear from folks is, do your business, city. Deal with the basic stuff we need, the basics of infrastructure. And if you're going to do it, frankly, do it right. We don't want to spend a bunch of money and still walk down there and say, this looks bad. They don't want a gold-plated Taj Mahal. But again, I think most residents who go to a main street, the sort of core heart of a city, they expect they can walk down there at night, and there's enough light to see by, just like when they walk through other areas of the city and things like that. So I agree with you. I guess my position would be is, I think what you have here is largely that core service, meat and potatoes kind of stuff, and is consistent with what we hear from our residents, which is keep up the new stuff, but don't forget about your older part of town and the citizens that have been here a long time. And I think, frankly, most of those folks would argue we haven't kept up as we should have, rather than we spend too much in their areas, for what it's worth. But I can appreciate the perspective. But philosophically, I think we're opposed. But I think this is really meat and potatoes kind of stuff that the city needs to be doing, that folks expect us to get after.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I have to echo what Mr. James was just alluding to. You know, I agree that in general, the preferred way is to go before the residents and ask them for their vote, their support for a project. And we've always done that in the past for things like the natatorium and the soccer complex and the baseball fields, when we're expanding them significantly or we're creating something that didn't exist. But when you look at this list, and I have to emphasize, this includes Main Street. This is taking care of things that already exist in the city. We routinely bond to repave streets. We routinely, I mean, we went out and found money to redo El Bell and fix the drainage on El Bell when we had extra money laying around. We didn't go back to the residents and ask them, hey, should we fix El Bell? They're expecting us to maintain El Bell. And we did originally go to the residents. They're the ones that approved the bond for Main Street. But that original bond was for nothing more than cosmetic repairs for Main Street. Street lighting, benches, you know, things like that. The reality of it is the street needs to get redone. The sidewalks need to get fixed. It makes no sense to pave the street so that next year we can dig it up to replace a water line. And the year after that, we can dig it up a second time to replace a sewer line. So while it's unfortunate that we're looking at Main Street to a degree like this, the reality of it is all these projects are things that are identified that need to get done. It's just a matter of realigning them in our priorities for the city projects. Now, if there's some other street or water line that takes precedence over Main Street, I'd be happy to entertain that. But at the end of the day, I think the staff has done a great job of looking at road services and giving us a roadway impact program of what streets need to get done. And I think they've been very smart about making sure that we're not just throwing money at bad projects, that we're not paving a street so we can cut it up again in another year or two. Again, $3.2 million, I just want to make sure that everyone understands, this is not to make Main Street look pretty. This is to make Main Street functional. It's to fix water lines that are, how old?
At least 50 years old.
50-year-old water lines?
The street, a good portion of it, PCI is in the 50s for Main Street.
Yes. So if you look at what we've done before on roads, we've repaved roads that had higher PCI scores than a 50. Yet our section of Main Street that we own, not the part that is covered with 1518 by TxDOT, has a PCI score of 50. So it has to get redone. And the reality of it is, like I said, it makes no sense to do it just so we can dig it up again. That's just a waste of city dollars.
Council, any other comments? You mentioned a petition. What is the deadline for a petition if on this?
Petition, it can be submitted up until the consideration of the ordinance.
Which would be August 2nd.
August 2nd, according to our timetable for the issuance of these obligations.
August 2nd. And based on, you know, you said 15%?
5% of the qualified voters
5%.
of the city of Schertz.
5%, okay. That's only if 4,000 people voted, that's only 200 signatures required on that petition. You know, I think the amount is what's raising some questions here. $19 million is quite a bit of money, and that's why Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola has mentioned that maybe the citizens might want to voice their opinions. But also, Councilmember Davis brought up a good, interesting point, is that this is infrastructure that needs to be fixed and taken care of. And we're at that crossroads.
Certainly. I think to Mr. Davis's point, we look at certificates of obligations and general obligation bonds, and it's a philosophy that changes city by city, but you have wants versus needs. And a want is a new city hall, is a new rec center, is a new library that should be put forth to the voters, and to the point of redoing old streets and those things. Those are needs that you all are elected to make those decisions for in an expeditious manner. You all are all too aware, and certainly your staff is, that the cost of construction and labor has risen and continues to rise in this environment. So the delays of project, 8 months, a year, are also substantial, and certainly part of a consideration set when looking at financing projects such as this.
Thank you. Council, any other comments? Yes, Councilmember Whitaker.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 22R54.
Okay. Councilmember Davis, did you have a question before?
You mentioned before that a good portion of this is, you threw out a number of about $11 million is coming out of the water and sewer funds.
Yes, sir.
And which projects are those specifically were you referring to?
The FM 1518 utility line relocation, the Northcliffe AC pipes, and the transmission main upgrade.
And wouldn't a potentially large chunk of Main Street improvements be also coming out of water and sewer if we're replacing water lines and sewer lines?
We could afford it there, yes. Yeah.
Potentially.
Potentially, yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Let me make sure that the motion is clear, that the motion was made by Councilmember Whitaker that the City Council adopt a notice of intent resolution for this bond, and it was seconded by Councilmember Davis. Council, any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Nay.
Aye.
We have 4 ayes, 1 objection, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we'll move on to a public hearing. Resolution number 22R53, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, accepting a petition for voluntary annexation within the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the City of Schertz. Ms. Harrison, you have the floor.
Good evening, Council. Let me pull up my presentation. So this is for, good evening, Council, Mayor Dr. Brown. This is for Resolution 22R53. This is the Sterling Grove voluntary annexation. So to provide your bearings, the property is outlined here in green. To the west is FM 1518. To the south is Trainer Hale. And to the east is Weir Road. You might kind of recognize this property. You recently approved the comp plan amendment for the single-family residential earlier this year. So here is the annexation exhibit. The property owners petitioned to voluntarily annex approximately 287 acres of land. This is the first step in the annexation process. There will be an ordinance and for the annexation as well as the zone change that will come before council at a later date. But again, this is just the first step for the petition process to come before the City Council. So at this time, staff recommends approval of Resolution 22R53, accepting a petition for voluntary annexation.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. Okay, this is on the agenda as an open public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the council regarding this, in reference to this subject? Anyone that wants to address the council? Going once? Going twice? Public hearing is closed. Council, floor is open for discussion. No discussion. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 22R53?
Second.
That motion by Councilmember Hayward and second by Councilmember Dalla. Any other questions? Comments? No. right, let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 13, ordinance number 22R24. An ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, closing and abandoning to the abutting property owners a portion of Aviation Avenue right-of-way approximately 918 feet east from Farm Road FM 1518 to Oak Street, a portion of Mitchell Avenue right-of-way approximately 857 feet east from FM 1518 to Oak Street, and approximately 806 feet of Pollard Street right-of-way north of Arrow Avenue, extending 161 feet north of the intersection of Aviation Avenue and Pollard Street, established an effective date thereof. I am so confused by all this, all these numbers.
I completely understand. We've had a few phone calls, so hopefully as I show the images, it'll kind of all come together.
Yes, I think that will help. Thank you.
So this is for ordinance 22S24. Pretty much just broke it down very simply. Right-of-way abandonment for a portion of Aviation Avenue, Mitchell Avenue, and Poplar Street. Megan Harrison, planner. So here is the property outlined here in green. To the west is FM 1518, to the south is Arrow Avenue, and to the east is Oak Street. So as you may recognize, this is the Tholenmeyer Park, the baseball fields. Here's the public hearing notice map. We did send a newspaper notice on May 18, 2022. We also, in addition to that, did send public mailers. We sent 39 of those on June 1st, 2022. So here is the Aviation Heights subdivision. So as some of you are familiar with the Aviation Heights subdivision, it was platted in 1928. So part of that plat did have this area, what is also the Tholenmeyer Park, outlined here in red. So the part of the plat that was platted was also the extension of Aviation Avenue, as you can see here, Mitchell Avenue to here, and then Poplar Street. So obviously, it was never constructed, it was never developed. It was just essentially done on paper, platted as right-of-way, but it was never constructed to this day. The purpose of the Park and Recreation Department has actually requested that the abandonment be done as they are wanting to do improvements to Tholenmeyer Park and the baseball fields. And so in order to do that, they would need to go through the replat process. And as you can see, there's several lots that are within this red box here, and also some right-of-way that's not constructed. So they would need to have the right-of-way abandoned, and they would need to go through a replat to make this one contiguous lot in order to do those said improvements and pull necessary building permits. So here is just an aerial of the Tholenmeyer Park today, as well as the baseball fields. So as you can kind of see with this green line here, this would have been where Aviation Avenue would have extended to FM 1518. This blue line here would have been where Mitchell Avenue would have extended through the baseball fields to FM 1518, and then Poplar Street, which would have been from Arrow all the way up to the edge of the Tholenmeyer Park here. And so this is as you can see, this area is within the Tholenmeyer Park, so it's just requesting that the right-of-way be abandoned within that area. So staff is recommending approval of ordinance 22S24. I won't read through all of that, but it's what was on the CCM, and that's what staff is recommending approval of.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to address the council in reference to this subject? Please step up to the mic, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes for your comments.
My name is Barbara Mansfield Gonzalez, and I live in 12 Antler Drive, Schertz, Texas. I own, with my husband, the old batting cages. We are concerned about the development of the park area. We didn't get a notice for the Planning Commission meeting. We got this notice on Saturday. We would like to know how high the improvements are going to be, because that's going to put water into our area. We already have suffered from the buildup between us, Van Pecan, and Highway 35, with the runoff from new buildings who have been probably certificate of no rise added to their an essential amount of base, and that runs off not to the creek, it runs off to the swale along 1518, comes down the road, Ira Drive, which ends at when our driveway starts, because our driveway is not Ira Drive. And it goes from Lot 6 and Lot 7 in front of Lot 13 and Geshe subdivision. And we're concerned about the long-term plans for the park. We have not been able to access these plans or get an explanation for anybody. So until we find out more, we are not too interested in this project. Because if we say no, we're not interested, then that's the only card we have to play. So we recommend that there be more people noticed earlier. We're not going to read the newspaper ads. We don't even know which newspaper you put it in. And we got good questions answered. We got good answers for our questions this afternoon with Miss Megan Harrison, but we still would like more. We want to know the long-range plans for the park. All we know is they want to put a parking lot on a piece of land that is in the floodway. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone here that wants to address the council regarding this subject?
Rodney Vigil, 1209 1518. I live right across from the park. I would support this 100% because, as she had said, this was platted in 1928, and if we are looking to do anything with it, we're going to have to get all of that cleared up, so then we could maybe even make that even better parkland. I can understand what her concerns are, but I do believe that if you guys will clear that up so that we can do something with it and we're not locked in with those roads that should have been, then at least when we do the next project, then we'll take the Mayor Pro Tems and you'll go to the public with it. So I appreciate you guys for letting us know.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to address the council regarding this subject? Going once? Going? Yes, please come up to the mic, state your name and address, and then.
My name is Craig Montgomery, and have the property at 124 Pecan, and it's affected by the back of my property running on Ira Street, and all I need to ask is a better explanation of what this plan of abating the property back to, I guess, abandoning the abutting property. I'm just not following what effect that has, where that property, what ownership is that property that is under consideration in the block. That's not private property per se. Is it not part of the city of Schertz's property and control?
I think we'll get that answered in a few minutes here. We'll get a clarification for you, sir. Okay, any other comments? Going once? Going twice? Public hearing is closed. Okay. Ms. Harrison, there's a couple questions for clarification. Okay, first of all, is the property owned, has been abandoned, from what I understand? Am I correct?
So the Tholmeyer Park property?
Yes.
So it is, maybe rephrase the question.
Well, because you indicated here abandoned, closing and abandoning to the, oh, I think it's, never mind.
So we are the
You are the owners,
property owner.
okay.
So if you, I actually took some time. So if you don't mind,
Yes.
kind of drew on our.
For clarification, the city owns the property.
Yes.
So it's not abandoned.
Correct. The city just owns different portions, different things. So
Yes.
if you don't. So if you don't mind, so what would have been Aviation Avenue, Mitchell, and Poplar, if we are to abandon this right-of-way here and here, we are the abutting property owners to all of these right-of-ways.
Okay. And before we can do any changes to it, we need to replat it. Yes.
If this was somebody else coming in, we would say, you need to abandon the right-of-way, you need to replat. We're just trying to follow our own rules, treat ourselves to the same way as future people.
So for clarification, sir, I don't think we can do anything with this property until we take proper action. And before we know what we're doing with it, we have to take this action. And I think I think the intention is to leave it as a park.
It is, and I can.
Yes, so the improvements to the park are, as we've talked about numerous times, we're just going to deal with the dirt parking lot that's on 1518, and we're going to try to pave that, and we're going to connect parking all the way around that backside to the Oak Street parking. Parking's an issue at Pickerel and Thulmeyer. We need it for events. We need it for even baseball, softball, kickball games. And then we are going to build an accessibility to the fields. So currently there's no sidewalks, there's no accessibility. We're going to build that in, make the restroom accessible, electrical upgrades, all those things. Again, we're following our process, abandoning the right-of-way that exists and platting it as one lot to be able to go forward.
And then to address the drainage concerns, we do understand there are 2 low water crossings on Pecan and not Randolph, oh my goodness. Oak Street. So part of the proposal is to look at the drainage in the area. We understand that there may be some pipes that need to be sized adequately because this is floodplain. There is drainage easement from Pecan, and then it stops at the ballpark property, so we would love to talk to the property owner and possibly address those concerns further, but at this time we don't have an avenue to help the drainage on the baseball batting cage lot, but we can address it after it leaves the property, all in the park.
Thank you for the clarification. I think that helps. Okay, council, questions?
Yeah, I have one big question. Tell me, sir, how easy is it dealing with the city, trying to navigate these challenges?
You've opened yourself for a threat. Let me just say this, city staff is great to work with. I don't know.
That's what I hear. I hear about
council.
I hear the individuals.
We've had.
I hear individuals are really easy to work with. It's the processes sometimes that are challenging. But yeah, when I first looked into this, yeah, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we're going to turn over property to somebody. I don't like that idea. It's too, no. And then I read a little further and found out that it was us. We owned it. And okay, this is bizarre. But then I finally figured out what your plan was. So, and you know, it's not your fault. I don't know if there's any simple way to explain what this process that you were trying to accomplish was. So thank you. You did it as well as you possibly could.
I think the images help. Reading the words it makes it difficult, but until you see it,
Yes.
it helps.
Yeah,
I finally understood what the
you did wonderful. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Davis.
Just, Brian, I got one more question for you. To me, this made perfect sense. It's an old plat. Tullmeyer is obviously like 6 or 7 or 8 properties on paper. Collectively, we call it one single park, Tullmeyer, but it's actually a half a dozen or so properties.
Oh, it's far more than that. It's
Or whatever.
more lots.
We're just going to make it a single property. So that makes perfect sense on paper. So this action approves no changes, no repaving. That's a whole separate discussion. That'll be later. My question is, of all the other property that the city of Schertz owns, do we have this problem on other city parcels as well?
Yes.
We do. So again, I'll be clear. We didn't used to necessarily require Park Stephen be platted. So we've got unplatted land that we own, and we're working our way through it. So yeah, this is not uncommon, and I will say, as much as Councilman Scagliola, I appreciate the question, I think it is probably useful for staff to have to go through this ourselves, because part of what we're doing with a number of things you've done tonight and a number of efforts we've talked about is focusing on those older areas of town. So yeah, it's probably a good idea for staff to have to go through this. So when we're dealing with a resident who's got a couple of lots and an easement through it, we're probably a bit more empathetic about what they're dealing with trying to get through the process. And I mean that sincerely.
Or do we plan on addressing the other ones at some date?
We're going to work our way through it. It's not an inexpensive process because we have to get a surveyor or an engineering firm to do it. So there is a cost to do this. You know, so even funny enough, the one on tap that we're doing is the Heritage Oaks in Crossvine isn't platted. So we're going through to get it platted, and we'll work our way through as staff has patience and time. But yeah, it's not an inexpensive process. But yeah, our goal is to try to clean this stuff up so that somebody down the road, 20, 30 years, has a clean understanding of what's out there, because when you don't, you run into problems. We didn't realize there was right-of-way. We didn't realize there was a water line. Didn't realize something like that. So.
Thank you.
I did want to mention with the park improvements that we are not closing off of IRA. We are not making that a dead-end connection, and we will continue an access path through the park back to 1518. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Dalla. Councilmember Dalla. No, ma'am, the public hearing has been closed.
So just over the years that I've been on P&Z and now up here on council, I've been fascinated by some of the interesting things that you guys bring to us, and this is definitely one of those. But yeah, I think it's a good idea to make this one piece.
Okay. Any other comments? Other comments? Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 22R24? Motion's been made by Councilmember Hayward and second by Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. All right, we'll go down to our roll call confirmation. Our City Secretary, Brenda Dennis, will provide us a roll call confirmation for agenda items 1 through 13.
Yes, Mayor. Item number 1, resolution number 22R49. A motion was made by Councilmember Davis, seconded by Councilmember Dalla. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola. Councilmembers Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Hayward voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed 5-0. Consent agenda items 2 through 10. A motion was made by Councilmember Hayward, seconded by Councilmember Davis. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola. Councilmembers Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Hayward voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed 5-0. Item number 11, resolution number 22R54. A motion was made by Councilmember Whitaker, seconded by Councilmember Davis. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola voted no. Councilmembers Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Hayward voted yes. Motion passed 4-1. Item number 12, resolution number 22R53. A motion was made by Councilmember Hayward, seconded by Councilmember Dalla. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola. Councilmembers Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Hayward voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed 5-0. Item number 13, ordinance number 22S24 on first reading. A motion was made by Councilmember Hayward, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola, Councilmembers Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Hayward voted yes. No one voted no. Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Dennis. All right, we'll move on to our closed session. We have a closed session today. Our City Council will meet in closed session in accordance with Section 551.074 of the Texas Governmental Code to discuss the vacancy of the city prosecutor's position. The time is now 7:33. We will reconvene after our closed session. All right, the time is now 7:54. Well, forget this. The time is now 7:54. We reconvene into a regular session after our discussion and deliberation regarding our closed session in reference to item number 14, the vacancy of our city prosecutor. There is a motion to be made on item number 15. The motion is, the chair will make that motion, is to have, see, I have to look at my bag because all the names on this, it's on there. We don't want to miss one of these names. The motion is to have our law firm, our legal law firm attorneys, Denton, Navarro, Rocha, Burnell, and Hyatt, and Zach, represent the city of Schertz in the interim as our city prosecutor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made, second by Councilmember Whitaker. Council, any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. We now need a roll call confirmation. Our city secretary, Brenda Dennis, will give us a roll call confirmation
Yes,
on item number 15.
Item number 15. The motion was made by the chair, seconded by, pardon me, Councilmember Whitaker, to have the law firm of Denton, Navarro, Rocha, Burnell, Hyde, and Zach represent the city of Schertz in the interim.
I hate to do this, but can I please ask that Hyde be completely stricken?
Okay. Denton, Navarro, Rocha, Bernard, and Zach represent the city of Schertz in the interim for the prosecutor position. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola, Council members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Hayward voted yes, no one voted no, motion passed 5-0.
Thank you. I just found out I need a new bag. All right, item number 16. Item number 16, it's an update on the printing contract with the Schertz magazine. This is information only, and council, the information has been made available to council and available for public viewing at our home site, schertz.com. We'll move on to requests and announcements. Any further announcements from our city manager, Dr. Brown?
Nothing further, Mayor.
Okay, council, any possible updates or information requested from staff?
Yes, I have one.
Yes.
It's just a request, and I didn't feel like writing an email, so that's why I'm doing it tonight. Being over at utility building, if there's a way for GIS to just kind of do like a simple little map to get people from utility building over to Public Works when they have to go to Public Works, and because just telling them over by Pickerel Park, if they're older, we're assuming, or even if we tell it close to Pickerel Park, we're assuming they know where Pickerel Park is. And there was a situation in the utility building where a gentleman came in and they were telling him he needed to go over to Public Works so they could finalize repairing the driveway where the city had fixed his leak. And an older gentleman, and he had no idea kind of where Pickerel Park was. So if it's just a map of some sort with the complex. Yep.
Okay.
And that's all for now.
Council, any other comments? Any other? Okay, council, any possible items you'd like to place on a future agenda? Okay. Comments and announcements by council members. Mayor Pro Tem Scagliola.
Yeah, and a couple of them. I went off to the employee cookout. That was really a fun event. And then the joint Memorial Day services, Cibolo put on a very good presentation and Memorial Day event. That's all I have.
Okay, Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I attended the joint Memorial Day service with over in Cibolo. Other than that,
Councilmember Whitaker.
Also attended the Memorial Day ceremony in Cibolo. We had the committee interviews recently for some of the committee selections. I joined is it the Junior Fire Academy or just the Fire Academy? So the fire department was holding an academy for middle school and high schoolers, and joined them for breakfast on Monday, so that was fun. And we had several repeat attendees, so must have been good last year, and they came back to do it again. Today, ribbon cutting for counseling, consulting, and life coaching up in Northern Schertz, so that was pretty cool. We don't have businesses up there open up too frequently, so fun to be there. And then lastly, I would just like to say thank you that the police department put together a little presentation about our active shooter policy, shared that with the mayor and I do appreciate the time spent there. I know we had a resident this evening that was concerned that, we want to take a look at it, so we were taking a look at it, and very happy to see that our policy is pretty much where it needs to be, and I feel good about having kids in our school system, and as much as I can be. So thank you, staff, for putting that together, and for the police department for what they do. Thanks.
Councilmember Dalla.
Just attended the Memorial Day service there in Cibolo. Well done, and appreciate them doing it this year, and looking forward to hosting it next year.
Councilmember Hayward.
Yes, I attended the Employee Appreciation Cookout and did a little bit of cornhole. Not good at it. The mayor and I lost. Actually, we let Brenda win. That was fun. Did the Memorial Day joint ceremony in Cibolo, and attended the ribbon cutting today, the counseling and consulting up in Schertz up by 1103. And then one last thing is I have been appointed as a delegate to the Municipal Policy Summit this summer, which is on the legislative side for TML, and they're going to be discussing legislative priorities to take before the State House. And if there's anything that we need to focus on from our city, please let me know, and I'll be on it. And that's in August. That's all.
Okay. The time is now 8:01. We stand adjourned.